Yeah, just happy to be here. Excited to kick off a good weekend. And Florida State's program I have a lot of respect for. I think there's a mutual respect there. Coach Lonnie and the staff are friends of ours and communicate pretty regularly. So we know that it's going to be a great test, and they're going to be great games. It's going to be a great environment, and that's what softball at this time of year is all about.
Questions?
Coach, can you talk about the way you guys played in the regional and how you've been playing coming into this point?
Sure, yeah. I think that one of the things that I've made comment a couple times, over the last few weeks is that, I'm really proud of the way that our team has competed and grown over the course of the season and where we finished in the conference and all that kind of stuff. But I didn't feel like we had gotten hot. We hadn't had that weekend where we just felt like it was clicking, and certainly last weekend felt a little bit like that, and certainly would like it to continue on. But I feel like sometimes it's been brought up a few times about that we lost our last 3 games, but they were also against pretty good teams, and 2 of them were 1-run ball games, and we were 7-3 in our last 10. So we actually felt like we were playing really good softball, and I feel like maybe that Friday night game at LSU was maybe one of our best games of the year that we had played. So we felt confident heading into the postseason that we were playing good softball and that we knew how to compete and we knew how to be resilient. When we came back from the SEC tournament, we had a string of 4 or 5 straight days where we got to practice. And, one of the things that gets overlooked sometimes in the game of softball is you play a lot, right? You're playing 4 days a week frequently. One of the other days of the week is a mandatory day off. So you don't get to have great practices. You're spending your time trying to get loose because you just had a day off, or you're trying to recover because you just had a game last night and you got to play again tomorrow. So sometimes over the course of the season, things can start to get a little loose in your fundamentals. And so we went back to work, really proud of the work that the team put in. They recommitted themselves to doing some of the things that have been staples of what we do. And I think it all translated on the weekend.
When you scout and evaluate Florida State, what's the first thing that stands out to you about them on film?
I think that they're professional winners. They're really good at knowing how to win softball games and doing the things that it takes to win softball games. There isn't any one area that you're like, oh my gosh, I've never seen anything like that. Kat is a professional outgetter. Like, she just knows how to pitch, and she moves the ball around really well. She spins it well. I've got experience with her with Team USA, and I know what kind of competitor she is, and she pitches well in the big games, as you guys certainly know. So she's the leader of the pitching staff for sure, but Lonnie does such a great job of using the pitching staff, and she's kind of been one of the ones that's ahead of the curve in terms of the metrics and analytics and using her pitching staff, whether that's using it as an opener or getting one time through the lineup and making a change. And so Kat's talent and Lonnie's ability to use all of the people make it really hard to score runs against them. And then on the offensive side, they just are smart, they're disciplined, they're really aggressive and create a lot of havoc on the bases. And so all of those things force you to really be on your game. I don't know, I grew up in Indiana. I'm an Indiana basketball guy. Bob Knight used to always say that a lot more games are lost than they are won. And I think what Florida State does is it makes it really easy for you to lose by you get caught up and you make a mistake here, and then the ball starts rolling and you never do get it changed back. So for us to be successful this weekend, we're going to have to, manage that well.
Sarah, how fun has it been to be in this offense when you got to get it going, and how much confidence do you guys have?
It's so fun to just play with these girls and knowing that we have each other's back through it all. one of the best offenses in the country, and we would go to war with this group of people any day. And when we get rolling, we're rolling, and we know that, and we have that confidence in ourselves, and the work, just trusting the work that we put in is when it comes.
Can you, when you watch pitchers on tape, can you really get a good feel for what, or on film, when you actually get in the box? Like, how much can you get out of scouting?
Personally, I'm more of a less is more girl. Personally, I'd rather just not watch, because I grew up my whole life in travel ball, like not knowing the pitchers that I face. And so when I start thinking about what's coming at me or what pitch to sit on, that's when I go in a downward spiral. So just staying true to myself and keeping it simple is what I like. But we do a very, very good job of preparing. We do machines that do the exact thing that their pitchers throw, and so that really prepares us for what's coming and what's up next. So we get a really good feel of what we're going to face and stuff, but really less is more for me.
Coach, it seems like the narrative coming into this series is whether or not Florida State's excellent pitching can stop Georgia's hot hitting. Do you think that's going to be what decides this series, or do you think there's some other keys to watch out for?
You know, at this time of year, you have to be good on all phases of the game, right? Florida State doesn't win 52 games if they can't be good on all phases of the game. So I don't think it's going to be one thing against another. One of the things I think that sometimes gets overshadowed, with our offense is that, we pitched pretty well last weekend too. Virginia Tech has a really good offense, and Maddie and Shelby really did a great job, and we did throw a no-hitter last weekend too. So I think our pitching piece of it is really going to be the key, that working with our defense. So our defense having our pitchers back, our pitchers, commanding the zone, applying pressure to Florida's hitters in terms of count leverage and just putting them under pressure with what we have, which is what we've been good at all season. I think that's probably going to be the bigger factor for us. I think, generally speaking, if we can keep the other team's offense under control, then we certainly have trust in our offense being able to figure it out. But the one thing that when you come into something like this is you have no idea how it's going to go, right? But the experience in me says this probably isn't going to be a 10-8 ball game, but you just never know, right? If that's what it takes, all they care is we end up with one more than they do at the end of the day.
Maddie, the improvement you made from like last year to this year, in what ways have you gotten better? Is it just experience, or in what ways have you improved?
I definitely think that I've just gotten more experience from last year just pitching so much. But I think the biggest factor this year has just really been having Shelby behind me and just us working together. I think we're so different and we complement each other so well. So just like her being so fast and like downward spin, and then me having just more upward stick to everything, I think that we work really well together and get along great, and Chelsea knows how to use us to the team's advantage, and it's just been really fun with them this year.
Anything else?
I'll go on that note is that the addition of Shelby has, allowed us to manage their exposure within a game. Games are lost regularly that third time through the batting order. And there was a lot of times where Maddie had to just go battle it out last year, that third and even sometimes the fourth time through the order, because that was just our best option. So this year we've been able to maintain, a lead late in the game or hold a game until we could come from behind by being able to share the load with both of them. And as Maddie said, they really do complement each other well.
You referenced earlier that Lonnie's ahead of the curve with the idea of pitching usage, that comment there. Is that something that you think is going to continue to evolve? Are you intrigued by what she's doing?
Yeah, I think everybody has to be acknowledge what she has done. And she, like I said, she was ahead of the curve, I think, really Now you see it a lot more often. I think it's a must now. You know, the hitters are too good, they're too strong, there's too much video out there, you know. I mean, that has been a game changer. Even in the time that I've been involved with softball, the exposure, you know, all of the games being on ESPN, some platform, you know, whether it's the ACC network or the SEC network or ESPN, there's no secrets into what people do anymore, and you get more time to prepare. And then you throw in all of the analytics and metrics information, like everybody knows about everybody. And so the more times a hitter sees a pitcher, the more it starts to shift into the hitter's favor. And so managing that, I think, is essential nowadays.
You mentioned that the pressure they put on teams and how teams often lose games. And that's kind of how it played out in their win over South Carolina. South Carolina couldn't make the play on the
Right.
blind. When you were watching that, was that kind of like, okay, that's kind of, this is what Florida State does to teams?
Yeah, you know, I think what I have a lot of respect for their staff is they do what it takes for their team to be successful. They had teams here over the years that just mashed, and so they didn't do some of that stuff. They just stand in there and let people bang the ball, waiting until somebody could get an extra base hit or hit a home run, and that doesn't seem to be the key to success for this team based on the personnel that they've had. And so what they're doing is using their personnel to their advantage to again win games. Nobody cares what it looks like. Is if you get that one more run than the other team, then it's a good job. And so, you know, what we've grown over the course of the season is our ability to manage that and handle it when teams have done that to us. You know, and we've made a lot of progress over the season, and we've faced teams. Stanford was like that, Kentucky was like that. We've faced teams that play that kind of game, and you know, that has prepared us. But until you get into the moment, you're never really prepared.
Coach, you mentioned the amount of games that are on TV. I asked Lonnie about it, but just the growth of the game that you've seen over the years. I mean, games this weekend, some are going to be on ABC.
Sure.
I mean, just how awesome is that to see this game grow and people that maybe have never watched softball start to fall in love with the game?
Sure, yeah. You know, I think that the game of softball and people involved in it, you know, we owe so much to ESPN and their willingness to put us out there. And that really has led to so many things changing, from just the quality of play to you know, the stadiums, the venues, the you know, coaches' salary, to NIL opportunities, to now we're starting to get to a place where we're maybe going to have a sustainable professional league, and you know, maybe 10, 15 years from now, that can be something that, you know, little girls aspire to as a, you know, a pro career. And we have people that are certainly making it work now, but it's certainly not at the same level as maybe the baseball players are, right? I mean, if Sarah Mosley and Maddie Kerpix were baseball players, they'd be having decisions on whether they're going to sign pro contracts. You know, thankfully for me, we get to have them back for another year, so I'm excited about that. But you know, I do hope that one day young women have the opportunities like they do in maybe the WNBA, or you know, even women's professional soccer is really taking off. But all of these things happen because of the exposure that ESPN, you know, gave us and continues to give us.
You know, the SEC has been, over the past few years, a conference that's been really deep, very competitive and stuff like that. After coming off a series against Virginia Tech, going into Florida State as well, do you feel like, you know, the ACC is coming up as well? ACC also having a handful of teams in Super Regional play as well. Do you feel like the intensity and, you know, competition has been, you know, starting to be matched between the two conferences?
Yeah, well, you know, Florida State's sort of been in a league in their own for a little while, but the conference, the ACC conference, has grown so much stronger, you know, and the bottom is really starting to raise. You know, they've had some good teams in there, but the depth of the league has really grown. And, you know, I think, I mentioned this before, I think one of the things that's beneficial in our league as the SEC, and as I said, I'm really careful to say it, like, we aren't the only conference that plays good softball, right? But what we do get the opportunity is to play really good teams week in and week out. And so you just get comfortable playing teams that have as good as players as you in the other dugout. They're just as well prepared. They're just as funded. Their coaching staff's just as strong. And so you just get used to playing tough games. And I think that, gives us some strength and some resilience that if we get behind, we know you got to keep playing. If we get a lead, you know that it's not over. And I think, again, you take the I don't have it in my mind right now how deep, but I know that there's a whole bunch of teams in the ACC that we were thankful we weren't matched up against, so it worked out fine. Not that we were looking forward to facing Virginia Tech, but when it was all said and done, we were happy to get through.
Your coach has mentioned some of the things to look forward to as a team, but Madison, Sarah, and the coach, if you want to follow up, but this team is in a league of their own, your coach said. I mean, they're a national seed perennially. They've won a College World Series in the last few years. How do you balance the intimidation of that, the respect you have for that, but also the confidence that you have going into this weekend, Madison and Sarah and coach?
I think we just need to remember that we're doing this for fun and we're coming out here to compete with these girls. We're gonna have each other's backs and we just need to remember who we are and that we've worked hard for this and that we've earned a right to play here. And so just going out with each other and trying to do everything we can to win the game.
I think we're just excited to be here. You never know when your last game is, so just going out, and we always say have no regrets by the end of the game and just going out there and playing it for ourselves and just this team, because if we focus on the bigger picture or someone else, I think that's where our focus gets lost. And so just reminding ourselves like who we are and what Georgia softball is and having respect for the other team, yes, but just focusing really on us girls on this side of the ball and just having each other's back and playing for each other.
Yeah, we aren't playing the 2018 Florida State team tomorrow, right? And they aren't playing our 2010 team that, did great at the World Series either. So all of that stuff, is a credit to them and their program and the history and all of the things that Florida State softball has created for themselves. But, at the end of the day, none of it's going to matter. The team that's going to walk out of here and advance is the team that plays better these next few days. It doesn't matter what you did early in the season, in the middle of the season, and it doesn't matter what you did last year. It's going to be about playing this weekend. And we're used to playing good teams. Certainly Florida State is a good team. They've earned the opportunity to be the seed that they are. And we're excited to go compete against them.
One more?
Madison, your defense has been pretty good this year, pretty high fielding percentage. Does that help you know that, when you got them behind you, that you can kind of, pitch any type of pitch and they'll, make the play? You don't have to get a strikeout every time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's definitely been super nice this year. Like, my defense has always had my back. I always trust in them, and it does put less pressure when I'm throwing a certain pitch. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna get a pop up here, and I know Elliott's gonna get it in foul territory, or I'm gonna just try and make this pitch so we can get a double play here. Just knowing that they always have my back, they're gonna go 100% for every ball, and they've just been amazing this year, and so it's been really great to have them.
All right.